Hello and welcome to Homeschool MBA, where we talk about different management business administration topics. Thank you for being here. Let's get started. So the agenda today is talking about creative alternatives in decision making. I have created a one-page slide which goes over the definition of creative alternatives, some of the key parameters that are required for creative alternatives, and some things that needs to be followed. Again, recall creative alternatives is one of the parameters for quality decision making. There are 6 of them. After framing, the second one is creative alternatives. Thank you, Professor, for being here. Let's talk about creative alternatives in decision making.
Thank you very much. Creative alternative in decision making. Basically, decision is picking up one option out of 2. Like you have said, this way or that way. Now, the decision would be which way you want to go. We'll explain it later on. Now, you have explained very well that decision value is as good as the best alternative. Settling for good enough is not good enough to achieve the best value. It means that the decision that you are taking, the creative alternatives must be discussed, and they must be, reasoned out that which one is the best one. And for that matter, you have to think out of the box. You have very rightly said that alternatives, that's let's say 1, 2, 3, 4 alternative, they must be significantly different from each other. Not that the same alternative is being repeated again and again. So they should be significantly different, mean that different approaches to take that decision. Reasonable for selection means that it should have the outcome which is foreseeable and which is acceptable to you. And range of possibilities again can mean a range of possibilities within the alternatives and the alternative itself, that what, when, where, and how can we do it. Now, as for doable, that you're using is like setting a SMART objectives. SMART means specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time bound. Exactly the same definition can apply to this doable alternative. The alternative must be SMART. It must be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. Only then the decision can be SMART decision. Then we say that decision is picking one alternative out of many, or at least out of 2. And you have shown this way or that way. Now, let's say we can create an example of this. That is that you like to travel from London to New York. Now you have 2 options. Take a direct flight or take an indirect flight, fly to Zurich and from Zurich to New York. Now, both these alternatives have different, values. Like, for instance, the direct flight may be more expensive and it may be more tiring, but it may take less time. So if you are running short of time, then the direct flight is recommended. But if you take the indirect flight, that will give you a chance to see another country, take a rest, and maybe it is more economical than the direct flight. So that is what we mean, this way or that way. But the managers make this decision. In corporate world, you will always have 2 alternatives, this way or that way. It would be the smartness of the managers to select which way he or she wants to go. Then you say creative alternatives, can be achieved through brainstorming, wish list, and conversations. Brainstorming, definitely. Brainstorming basically is a free for all discussion where people can, give reasons, arguments the way they want. And they can even list out what they wish out of it, and then they talk about it. Out of box thinking and conflicting points of view help modify alternatives. Now, remember that no leads to new knowledge. Yes leads us nowhere. Whenever you have conflicting points of view, you are actually what you are looking for a new approach. When people say, I don't agree with you, the manager says, why not? The employee says, because of this, that. Another employee can say, I don't agree with so and so. And the manager says, why not? So that employee will give another alternative. So you can select the best one out of these different points of views that have been given by your staff. Managers must define high quality set of alternatives before work begins. The manager must, understand the high quality alternatives. High quality alternative means which is achievable, which is realistic, and which is beneficial for the company. Now, here you have the managers have to be very careful that they don't become victim of the traps. Now, therefore, we say traps to avoid, assuming no or too many alternatives. Now, first trap is that you just leave it to nature, let's do it. So you have not discussed and you are actually trapped. The other is too many alternatives that it has become impossible for you to select between so many alternatives because one alternative is slightly different than the other. And we have said that they should be significantly different. So therefore, when you say many alternatives, they are not significantly different, I agree with you, then considering not doable alternatives. That is that you set, like you said, very difficult objectives which are not achievable, which are not realistic, and which are very expensive. So that's what it means that considering not doable alternatives is always better for the manager because that would lead us to waste of time. Therefore, you'll become victim of the trap. Accepting unnecessary limits to alternatives, that also is a trap which must be avoided by managers, and the smart managers will definitely not get tied down by these traps. Yes.
All right. Thank you, Professor. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Like and subscribe to all our social media. Thank you, Professor. Till we meet again.
Thank you very much.